Greetings, Otaku Faithful. Thank you for joining me again this week. Once again, it's Larry Williams, OAW Commander-in-Chief, and I'm here to bring you yet again another Rant segment edition, right here on Otaku Assemble! Weekly. Once again, back to bring you this week's Rant segment. Now, I will admit, this week's rant has been a long time coming. But before I get into that, I do need to take the time to address the request at the end of my last rant. At the end of my last rant, I requested that you guys vote on whether or not I should rant weekly. But one comment in particular did catch my attention. And it was this, the fact that if I start doing rants on a weekly basis, I will get burned out. And I will get tired of doing it. And that's almost as true as the sky is blue and the grass is green. Now, granted, yes, the votes for do weekly rants were hugely, it was a huge lead. Everyone's like, yes, do the rants weekly. So I do understand that, and I do want to take this time out to apologize to you all about that. But unfortunately, that one comment, I'm not saying that the comment, had so much weight. I'm not saying so much that it had so much weight to it as it made so much more sense. So, because the whole idea is that these rants are supposed to be off the cuff and they're supposed to be spot on as the topic occurs that week. If I was to do rants on a weekly basis, that means I would have to sit here and I would have to plan out, week by week what I was going to rant about, even if it's something that I didn't feel necessarily garnered a rant, So I want whoever I should have wrote down the username who actually left the comment. But I do want to thank them for bringing that to my attention because I wasn't thinking about that when I made the video asking about the weekly rant segments. And I really should have. So, with that said, I want to thank that viewer. And once again, I want to apologize to you all about that. But, with that said, this week, you do get a rant. And this rant is the official, I guess you can call it the official Naruto rant. More specifically, it is the reasons why I have decided to drop the Naruto anime and manga. So, now, before I get into the review, keep in mind that I have been marathon recording all for the past past 3 hours. I've been marathon recording, so I am a tad bit tired and a little bit worn out. But thankfully, see this? Can you see it? That's a list. I actually wrote out this rant. Wrote out the topics that I am going to address. That way, so that I wouldn't have to go so much off the cuff and it wouldn't have to be so incoherent. But with that said, let's not beat around the bush any longer. Let's get into this rant. Now let me go ahead and explain for those of you who are new to my channel that haven't been following me throughout all my videos. Those of you who have, y'all are already aware of this. I've been having multiple issues with the current Naruto manga and the Naruto anime for quite some time. For a couple of months now, I've been having issues with it. And my overall issue is this, that, the anime, that issue, simply put, I no longer enjoy the anime because I have read the corresponding manga chapters. I already know what's going to happen in the anime, and therefore, there is no level of surprise when I get around to watching the anime episode. That's why I don't watch. That's my problem with the anime. That and the filler. That's my main problems with the anime. Now the manga, to pretty much address my overall issue with the manga is that the manga has gotten to the point now where, where I'm losing interest in it because, number one, the story no longer intrigues me. Number one, the story no longer intrigues me. Why does the story no longer intrigues me? Because the story has gotten, in my opinion, the story has gotten A, sloppy, B, stale, C, predictable, which is the biggest problem. The story has gotten predictable. For a month, I predicted what would occur in the next Naruto chapter, and for a month, I was correct. I should never, ever, ever, I'm going to say this again, I should never, ever, I should never, ever be able to predict what's going to occur in your story, Masashi Kishimoto. Never. So C, it's highly it has become highly predictable. And D, which is the second biggest problem, is so many missed opportunities. I think I'll go ahead and I'll post this rant as a response to my man, the Insane Game Freak, aka the Game Addict, because he did a Naruto rant. He did a rant and then he did a follow-up rant. And his whole thing was, the biggest tagline that the Naruto series should have right now is missed opportunities. Because there are so many things that have occurred in the series that have either occurred too late or are taking too long to occur yet. Things that have been missed, things that should have been, things that should have been retracked, that they should have gone back and addressed. It's just missed opportunities for the most part. But, for the sake of argument, I will go ahead and I'll address these issues. So, like I said, pretty much what happened with the story. Now, with the story, first off, I want to make sure we are all clear on this. Part 1, from the Zabuza arc to the Sasuke retrieval arc, in my opinion, are spot on perfect. I thought part 1 was really well done. I love the shit out of part 1 because, that's what got me into the series in the first place. My problems come with part 2, with the time skip with Shippuden, where I think most people who have gotten to the point where I am, where they've falling out of the series, I think that's where they will agree with me, because this is when shit started getting ridiculous. Let's face it. Part 2 was set up to be, the search for Sasuke. And that's all part 2 has fucking been about, is the Naruto-Sasuke relationship. That's all part 2 is fucking about. That is all it's about. And I'm sorry, that shit is sickening to my stomach. The reason why is because Kishimoto took the time to introduce a wide variety of characters in part 1. And by the time he got to part 2, he decided to take the whole fucking series by the balls and just render it down. Just limit it to just these 2 fucking characters. And that's not intriguing to me, especially since one of the characters I don't even like. But, so, other than that, for the most part, it's the the search for Sasuke, and, this game of cat and mouse with Akatsuki. Akatsuki is hunting people, they're hunting Akatsuki, so on and so forth. Fighting Akatsuki members, so on and so forth. And, for the most part, I thought that part 2 was at its best with the Pain arc. The Pain and Jiraiya fight, the Pain invasion arc, the Naruto Pain arc. I thought that was, Shippuden at its best. Because that was pretty much events that were a long time coming, finally coming to pass. You can say the same thing about the Kyuubi flashback arc, when the whole Naruto origin flashback, same thing. That flashback was a long time coming. We've been waiting to find out Naruto's origin forever. Since the first chapter even. That was 500, it was chapter 500. That was 500 chapters in the making, man. But with that said, now we're going to get into where I fell out of the story, and that's the fourth Great Ninja War. Because, excuse me, in my opinion, the fourth Great Ninja War has been nothing but disappointing. And nothing but missed opportunities. Let's face it, I really don't want to sit here and regurgitate what many have already said about this saga, but I will take the time to address my issues with it. Number one, it is highly one-sided, and it will highly be one-sided. The reason why I say that is this. So far, it seems like it's been one-sided in favor of the joint shinobi forces, but we know the second when Madara and Zetsu and Sasuke and Kabuto decide to step their game up, it's going to become one-sided in favor of the villains. Either way it goes, the way this war has been constructed so far, it's going to be one-sided no matter what side of the pendulum you're on. It's going to be one-sided. I said pendulum, scale, excuse me. No matter what side of the scale you're on, it's going to be one-sided. With that said, my second problem with it, there's been no major casualties. Okay? Like I said, these are issues that's been regurgitated because I've been bitching, whining, moaning, complaining about these in the past. But let's face it, there hasn't been no major casualties. Having major casualties will tie into a point that I have later on in this page. So to address the whole no major casualties part, I'm going to go ahead and put that off to the side right now and bring it up later on. But we're going to come back to that in a minute. Just hang on. Just hang tight with me, okay? Now, that does play into my next major problem with the fourth Great Ninja War. Is the resurrection of all of these villains and all of these former characters. I honestly don't see the fucking point in this to use them other than cannon fire. Why would you bring back these fucking characters? Kishimoto, I'm going to say this once, and I will probably repeat myself multiple times throughout the course of this video. Leave the dead dead. Leave dead dogs where they lie. Stop bringing back all these fucking characters. I will say, when I first saw it, I was a little bit excited because I thought Kishimoto was going to do something exciting and unique with these characters. It was almost like these characters was coming back. Second life, second time around. And, he was going to do some really explosive things with them, and he did not. For the most part, these characters have just been used for cannon fire, and it seems to be utterly pointless to the overall development of your story. Now, I'm going to go ahead and get to the point where I think is my biggest problem with the war so far. And this is going to tie into the no major casualties point. And that is the fact that the idea is that this is the fourth Great Ninja War. The idea was that, Naruto and the Rookie Nine, when they were growing up, they heard all these gallant legends, tales, all these great stories about, all these great ninja. We heard about the first, Hashirama Senju, the first Hokage. Second Hokage, Tobirama Senju. Hiruzen Sarutobi, the third. Minato Namikaze, the fourth. We heard about all these, we heard about the Hokages. We heard about the Sannin. We heard about, all these great ninja. And yet, it seems as if, this is the contradiction that I find excruciatingly irritating. The thing was, we heard about all these great ninja because they made names for themselves in the wars that they fought. Now that we've gotten to the fourth Great Ninja War, this is the war of Naruto and the Rookie Nine's time. This is the war that they will make a name for themselves. But with that said, why aren't they at the forefront of this war? What do I mean by that? What I mean is you have all of these mentor characters and elderly characters, to be honest with you, who are running the war. And it seems like the Rookie Nine are just soldiers. Now, granted, you can say the same thing about the Sannin. The Sannin were not the leaders of their village. They were soldiers, much like Naruto and the Rookie Nine are now. However, they were also in a position where the change, they were in a position where the events that took place in their war, the battles they fought and the things they did created legends. It made them legends. And I have yet to see anything remotely similar to that happening with Naruto and the Rookie Nine. For the most part, it just seems like they're just fighting cannon fire. They're fighting all these Zetsus, and they're fighting all of these fucking zombies that in all outright shouldn't be there in the first place. They are not fighting any battle of any significance as far as I'm concerned. And that's really, really disappointing considering the fact that, in my opinion, I think Naruto and the Rookie Nine should be the leaders of this battle. Why? Well, one of them is a fucking Kage for one. Multiple of them are Jonins. And then you have Shikamaru, who's a fucking military genius. And I'm not just saying Naruto and the Rookie Nine, but the other other villages, they're young ninja as well. No, you know who we keep seeing? We keep seeing the same fucking faces. We keep seeing Kakashi. We keep seeing to be fair, the other villages, Jonin, we didn't see them before the war, and it was interesting to see them fight. But still, these are older characters, elder mentor-esque characters that, in all outright, I think should be getting slaughtered. This is where we get to the point of no major casualties. Honestly, we should be seeing some mentor characters getting killed. Why? Because that's going to provide the younger characters, the central main heroes, with that sense of loss, with that sense of danger, with the conflict to having to overcome these obstacles. You see what I'm saying? It ups the ante. If you start killing off a bunch of major fucking characters, that sends home the message of danger. I don't know how many times I have to say this because I've repeated myself multiple times. I've mentioned it in the Bleach rant. I've done it in my previous Harry Potter rants, where when you kill off these characters, it sends home the sense of danger. It makes everything more severe. It also gives the characters, the heroes, it gives them that they become stricken with grief and depression and sorrow and despair. And it is up to them to overcome that and rise above that to become the heroes that we know they can be. And that's not fucking happening in this series. Now, with that said, that's also going to bring me to one of my final parts about the story aspect of Naruto right now. And that is the whole Naruto Sasuke build-up is, let's face it, it's tired and it's predictable. We all know that everything is supposed to be leading up to this. It's overdone, it's overused, and it has lost its effect. Now I'm going to move more so from the story and into the actual characters. Let me tell you about the actual characters. Like I said, the Rookie Nine has been nothing, but missed opportunities. And the reason why I say that is this. One thing that I praise Part 1 for is that Part 1 introduced a wide variety of characters that everyone liked and I think everyone enjoyed. The thing that you could not deny about Naruto in part one was it seems like if you were with a group of people, a group of friends, take my friends for an example. Me and my friends, we all, watching Naruto, reading Naruto, we love the series, right? But what I loved about part one was the fact that everybody had their own favorite character. You did not have a DBZ effect going on where everyone, liked the same, 4 or 5 characters. No, it seemed like everybody had their own favorite character. My first favorite character was Kakashi. Then my favorite character became Jiraiya. Then it became Minato. Then it became Naruto. I went through 4, main characters. Like my friend Courtney, he was a big Itachi fan. My friend Cody, big Gaara fan. My friend Justin, big Gaara fan. A bunch of my friends, my man Kavadish, he was a big Rock Lee fan. My sister, her favorite character was Neji. Everyone had their own favorite character, and that was the coolest fucking aspect of Naruto. The fact that Kishimoto had created this world with these characters that were all well developed and that were all well likable characters. You shit all on that in part 2. Why? Because you made the whole fucking thing about Naruto and Sasuke. The boy love relationship between Naruto and Sasuke. I swear to fucking God, I can't take that shit anymore. I really can't. I really can't. That shit was too much. We understand the concept between Naruto and Sasuke's relationship. We get it. But no, you have to sit there and force feed it down our throats time and time. Who the fuck? I wonder who Kishimoto gets to proofread his work. And I wonder if his editor is a 5-year-old child with the attention span of a goldfish and a short-term memory. Because Kishimoto constantly, 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 constantly gives us these flashbacks that reinforce the themes that he is trying to exude in this series. We get it. We get it. Kishimoto, let me say that again. We get it. Okay? You don't have to keep doing this. Why do you keep doing it? Personally, I think it's to take up space. I think that's why he keeps doing it. He keeps doing it to take up space so that he doesn't have to worry about running out of story too soon. Now, going back into the characters, like I said, in part 2, the Rookie 9 really did get shafted and they didn't really get developed. In my opinion, I think that the Rookie 9 should have stood out in part 2. If you're going to have all these Akatsuki members, going after them and, you're going to have, all these team fights, the Rookie 9, in my opinion, should have each gotten an Akatsuki member. We should have had, Team Kakashi fight an Akatsuki pair. We should have had Team Guy fight a Kakashi pair. An Akatsuki pair. Team Asuma fight an Akatsuki pair. Team Kurenai fight an Akatsuki pair. And honestly, if memory serves me correctly, there were 4 main Genin groups. And if you have an Akatsuki pair for those 4 groups, you have 8 Akatsuki members. And if memory serves me correctly, there were 9 Akatsuki members. So yeah, you would have had pretty much a pair for each group. And they should have all had their own little mini arcs for that, I think that's the way it should have went down. I think you actually would have created a stronger and much more interesting story that way. If you would have had like Gaara's trio fighting Sasori and Deidara, on their own, like if instead of the Gaara rescue arc, it was the, well, it could have still been the Gaara rescue arc. But if you would have had Gaara's team fighting Sasori and Deidara, I would have enjoyed that much more. If you would have had, of course you would have saved Team Kakashi for Itachi and Kisame. Or if you wanted to be ambitious, you could have did what you pretty much did, where you broke up Itachi and Kisame. You could have had Kisame fight Team Guy. Could have had Itachi fight Team Kakashi. Hidan and Kakuzu fight Team Asuma. You could have gave the leftovers, like anyone who survived those encounters, they could have fought Team Kurenai. And of course, Naruto could have fought Pain and Toby, I will get to in a minute. But yeah, why did you not use the Rookie 9 as the central characters? Why is it that the Rookie 9 fell into obscurity as supporting characters? Part 2 should have been the Rookie 9's spotlight. And no, instead, you traded their spotlight out for Naruto and Sasuke, for Jinchuriki, for Madara, for overpowered fuckers who, quite honestly, at the end of the day, I don't give two shits about. That's what you sold it out for, Kishimoto. You sold it out for that. I swear to God, I think I'm losing my voice. This is what happens, people who make YouTube videos. This is what happens when you marathon record. It's a motherfucker. Yeah, I did 4 vids. Shit. Okay, so my next point, and it's probably the thing that is one of the things that pissed me off the most about the series, is this. I really did become a fan of Naruto as a character. I'm talking about as a character. And the reason for that is because Naruto went from being an obnoxious brat to a highly relatable character for me. Because Naruto was the end-all, be-all. Naruto was the definitive underdog. Naruto was originally introduced as the loser. He was the loser. He was the one who everyone said was never going to amount to shit in life. He was the one that everyone said was no good. He was the prankster. He was the one that nobody ever gave a damn about. And he was the one who always said, I'm going to be Hokage and I'm going to be the strongest shinobi in this village. And everyone laughed at him. Everyone said he was crazy, that he would never be shit. And I'm sorry, but when you grow up hearing that shit all your life, and you find a character who goes through the same shit, you can't help but relate to that character and get attached to him. When you, for all intents and purposes, are a person who has a very outlandish dream, where given your background and given your position in life and your current circumstances, a dream that you have for a career or a goal that you want to achieve seems to be a little bit out of reach, and to look at this anime and manga and see a character who's going through the exact same shit that you, can't help but relate to that character. I'm sorry, but I always felt that Naruto was the scion. He was the symbol for each and every underdog. I don't give a damn if you're black, white, or brown, or purple. I don't give a damn if you're from the States, Canada, the UK, Japan, China, Korea, Tibet, Australia, Austria, Africa, Argentina, Brazil, Chile. I don't give a damn where you are. You could be an Eskimo. If you were an underdog, if you ever had a fucking dream that you wanted to achieve, and it just seemed like the outside world wouldn't let you have it, Naruto was the symbol. he was the character that it just seemed like, if you just work hard enough, if you just bust your ass, and if you get a little bit lucky, you might just be able to pull that shit off. Because it seemed like everything that Naruto was up against in part 1 and in the early parts of Shippuden, it seemed like all these, these odds, these obstacles, he just seemed to just knuckle down and bear through it, man. But what I did not like is when, one thing that Kishimoto achieved with the way Naruto was Naruto was the everyman. Naruto was the average Joe who became, one of the best in the village, despite everything that he's been through and despite everything that anybody ever told him. But in the latter part of part 2, Naruto gets the chosen one treatment. And I'm sorry, but when you introduce a character into the story, and we grow and we get to, like this character, and we get attached to this character and all this jazz, and the story is going a certain way, and then you throw that chosen one shit in our face, or, well, in my face, because I'm speaking for myself now. When you do that, you turn me off of that character, and you turn me off of your series. Key example. Now, granted, I dug it in Harry Potter. Because it was, 5 books before we got the chosen one shit in Harry Potter? Which is, on the latter half. If there's 7 books, the 5th book is in the latter half of the series. But it was 5 books before we found out that chosen one shit. And yeah, I was a little turned off from the series when J.K. Rowling decided to throw that at us. However, I did kind of dig it later on. Naruto, no. Throwing that chosen one shit at me, I rejected it completely. And the reason why is because if Naruto is quote-unquote the chosen one, then it went against everything that you had previously constructed that character to be. Not only is Naruto the chosen one by prophecy, but Naruto is apparently the chosen one by lineage. That whole thing about Naruto wanting to be, in Hokage and shit like that, and Naruto's talents and all that type of shit, it's all inherited. Now, Naruto being the fourth son, we knew that. I knew that since day one. That didn't bug me. Because it was, he was the son of a Hokage. Okay, he wants to be in Hokage, that makes sense. His first teacher was his father's student. And that's his teacher. Makes sense. His second teacher was his father's teacher. Makes even more sense. That trained. His second master's teacher was an Hokage. The train. You see what I'm saying? The train that was building up for Naruto. I thought that was enough. That was about the perfect amount. That was Naruto seemingly to be the average everyday Joe. And then you discover that no, he's not. No, he's not. Because there's, the will of fire has been inherited to him, through these great shinobi. But the Uzumaki shit, no. The Uzumaki being a distant cousin from the Senju, and by doing so are, descendants of the Sage Six Paths, no. Uzumaki being a fucking distant cousin of the Senju means they're also distant cousins to the Uchiha, no. Even Naruto inheriting the Nine-Tails, being the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki from his mom, that I actually did like because it kind of made a little bit more sense. But even with that said, that was pushing it. that his, the Jinchuriki was inherited in him. Like I said, the only reason why I let that go was because it seemed to make a little bit more sense, but even that was pushing it. So yeah, I don't like what Naruto's become. The character. Don't like what he's become. Now, not to make this video too long, because I am tired as fuck, let's just get into pretty much my only last complaint, I guess, and that's the villains. Because, honestly, Naruto doesn't have any more real villains. It seems like every villain now has had some type of sob story to make you sympathize with them so that you could see that, oh, they weren't so bad to begin with. There is no black and white. Kishimoto does this bullshit attempt to make it 1,000 Shades of Grey, and it doesn't work. Because in part 1, we had villains. We had die-hard evil motherfuckers. Okay, we had Zabuza. We had Haku. We had Orochimaru, who, in my opinion, is the end-all, be-all, definitive Naruto villain. And I'll get back to that in a minute. We had the Sound Ninja. What was it? The Sound 4? Or the Sound 5, including Kimimaro? You see what I'm saying? Like, those were villains. Once again, missed opportunity. Akatsuki. I expected Akatsuki to be badass motherfuckers, and they really weren't. Akatsuki weren't that badass. They really weren't. The idea was, you had two motherfuckers like Itachi and Kisame who were members, and then you had Orochimaru who used to be a member. So I'm thinking all the other members of Akatsuki are some really bad motherfuckers, But no, apparently Kisame and fucking Itachi were among the strongest in the group. And then the whole pain thing, I mean, honestly, do I have to get into this? The whole my pain is greater than your pain bullshit. It's fucking stupid. So, a few villains that I really just... Madara, for one, should never have been introduced in the series. Like I said, Kishimoto, keep the dead dead. Madara should have never been introduced. Honestly, I like Madara because I think he's cool. But he is a hindrance on the development of the story. He is. He's a relic that they brought back to appeal to his young teenage audience. Conan, the only real female villain you had, you killed her off, like it was easy. And in all honesty, Sasuke should be the main villain. The build up for that, that's been in the works since Sasuke Retrieval arc, and you haven't done much with it, so yeah. So, I mean, this rant really could go on and on and on, but I am excruciatingly tired right now. And I really don't wish to make this video any much longer than I already have. So, excuse me, with that said, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to leave this video off. Thanks for joining me again this week for this rant/ramble. Yeah, and I'm just gonna be outie. Peace.